All right, RiZe, Grind, Repeat podcast, episode 7 with new friend and personal development coach, Kristin Asadourian. How are you, Kristin?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's really an honor.
Well, thank you for coming. You know, it's funny, we had your brother on a couple weeks ago, and I've known him for years now, and your name has come up quite a bit in conversation, and I think, you know, the timing right now is for what I'm going through in personal development and stuff is perfect. And maybe you can kind of kick things off and give us, you know, the audience a little bit of your background, and we go from there.
Sure. So I am a personal development coach, but my background is blessed and varied. So I think that's why today where I sit before you both, a very different person than I was when I first went through my coach training. So after undergrad, I decided, I was growing up in Connecticut, small town. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I need a big city. And I chose Los Angeles because I figured if I was going to go big, I was going to go big.
Sure.
Went out to Los Angeles and was working in the industry by accident because all my friends were somehow connected. And I started working and producing shows. And I was like, this is fun, but it's not quite me. And came across, I was reading a book. It was by Bo Bronson, and it spoke of a life coach. And I was like, what is this life coach thing?
Yeah.
So Google.
Yeah.
Quickly found out what life coaching was, and then was led to the Coaches Training Institute. They're out of San Rafael, California, but they would come down to Southern California and do weekend-long workshops, and it was a series of 6 weekends. And I got to grow and learn and love with a group of 25 people that I got to see 6 weekends and throughout the course of a year. So it wasn't like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, you like quickly do your 6 weekends, but it was, we got to see each other and develop relationships and get to be vulnerable with each other. And you're like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So at that stage in my life, it was more of, I needed to go through this personally. I don't know if I'm ready to give this back to people or know how, right? Because when you're working with people, you have to be really solid.
Yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, I was like 20 something years old in Los Angeles. I was like having a great time, but then all of a sudden I was whacked with, okay, go in. And I was like, wait. I don't know if I want to see what's in there yet. And I am going to mention this one person who has had the most impact on my life. His name is Eric Kohner. Okay. And I had him for 4 of the trainings, he was the front of the room leader. There's always 2. He shook me. He shook me to my core. He called me out. He made me look at myself and see who I was. And I was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I did it. And by the time of the 6 weeks, I was like, okay, I understand this coaching thing. And then I sat with it for a few years. And I got an MSW. And I kind of lived. Have 2 kids. That's some living. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Sleep deprivation really makes you go in.
Yeah.
You're digging deep then.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point where I was just like, okay, I got a lot of living. I have a lot of knowledge. I've experienced things. We talked about, losing our dads.
Yeah.
And I think that now at this point in my life, I can bring story and I can connect with people on a level that's real and messy and vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I get to do that, and I create the space for my clients to do that and do it. Sometimes it's not always comfortable, but it doesn't have to be, right? Because it's uncomfortable when you're moving sometimes.
Yeah. It's what fascinates me about that is that I'm kind of on that same path where it's like I kind of broke down and had to build myself back up from scratch, and it was uncomfortable. And it's like finding yourself is very uncomfortable when you've kind of, I don't want to say been asleep for kind of a period of time, but it's like, yeah, you're gathering all these stories and backgrounds and things that are didn't work out in your favor, or maybe that's what you thought, but maybe it's supposed to work out that way so that you're your best self and you have these stories to share. But I find it fascinating too, because it's like I want to share my stories, and this is kind of, I started the blog and now it's the podcast, and I was looking into like the life coach and piece. And if you talked to me 3 years ago, I would say, well, that's foo-foo, or, it's like, who needs a life coach? Like what does that really mean? And now it's like, obviously I haven't gone through any training, but I get it because I've had to kind of restructure and find purpose. So that's, your story just resonates so well, and I appreciate that. That now what got you into like the entertainment? How did you go from, because you went to UConn and studied, you were social worker, right? Social work, and so how did you transition to entertainment?
When you live in Los Angeles, it's an easy transition if you're willing to work. And I landed and was just ready to work. Yeah. And I started off working for a company called Sebastian International, which is a hair and makeup company. And for those who know me, they know that I don't spend much time on hair and makeup. It's not my thing. It wasn't like, ooh, all these like secrets that I get to learn. And it was more of like, oh, this is an area I would have never thought that I would be in, but I'm out here. I might as well try it. It seems like fun. And I produced. I talent produced, then I show produced, then I was a creative producer and got to work on live shows. So it was amazing. And then it led me, that position, which always, I think in any industry, one job always leads to the next, sure. Right? And then that led me to work at E-Networks. And that experience was really life-changing, because what it showed me was no matter who you are, no matter how much fame, no matter how much money you have, you still function on the same level of spirituality, right? Like we're all the same. We're all motivated by wanting to become better, right? We're all motivated by wanting to raise our kids the best way we know how and to leave a mark on this world. Like we want to leave a positive legacy, yep. Right? And when you see people who have fame and wealth and pretty much can buy whatever they want that are still struggling with the same everyday things that you struggle, you have an understanding of, there's so much more. There's purpose. And once you find that purpose and you're connecting with it on that level where you're like, this is my truth and I get to put it out in the world now, right? And I was blessed because I got to go into, I was in celebrities' homes. I was in recording studios with them. One of them was living on a boat in Marina del Rey. I got to go be with her on her boat. And it was just, no matter where they were, working out. So I got to see them living. And when you see them living just like everybody else, you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all the same. It's just the the checkbook's a little bit different, but we all have the same problems. And if you look outward, probably for external things, it's going to be difficult whether you have money or you don't have money. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's always amazing to me, the people that are so quick to judge others too without really understanding, right? We're all human beings. We're all just trying to find our way. And how much better and more enjoyable and more blissful would it be if we were all just able to connect and love one another? And I know that sounds really hokey, right? Mm-hmm. But honestly, it is that simple. If you approach your life and you are led by love, it is such a more blissful way of living. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you can achieve that in every single moment of your day, but if you look at the big picture and you're like, you know what? Today I led with love, yeah. Right? And even when it was hard, love was still there. Yeah. It makes it so much more meaningful, and you get to live your truth. It's nobody else's. The noise is blocked out. Right?
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff I think me and Tim have come across, whether it's videos or reading, is to that point where, it's perspective, it's outlook. It's like if you can, the world is whatever you can make it. So if you can show love and even when somebody does you wrong, cuts you off or whatever, it's like, well, maybe they're having a bad day or if you can chalk that up as, it's not them, they're just having a moment or whatever, right. And bless that situation or give it love, then, you can move on, and it's just positive energy. And I think, just like you said, if everybody can kind of adapt, approaching any situation with love and sympathy and gratitude, your life is going to be a lot easier, and people are going to want to be around you. You know what I mean? If they get that good, energy from you, it's like, why wouldn't you want to be around those people versus, the negative, negative folks on a regular basis.
I can tell you that your brain vibes so much better on love and compassion than it does hate. Yep. Right? Like, you can feel what it does within you, right? And how the neurons, everything, every cell in your body responds, right? Even when you're smiling versus frowning, right? We all know this research. So put that out there. Yeah. Right? Let that lead you.
Now, talk to me a little bit about some of your coaching sessions. Like, I want to talk about your speaking seminars too, but talk to me about like the one-on-one when somebody comes to you with, asking for help. Like, what's the most common areas maybe that people get stuck, on, and that, where can they start, I guess, is the first, or what would you recommend?
I think that when you seek out any type of help outside yourself, it is an extremely brave and courageous act to get to the point where you're like, you know what, I can't go this on my own anymore. It's time for me to seek help. So when somebody comes to me, I'm always with open heart, like, let's create a space, right? And normally they don't really quite know what it is, right? But they know what it isn't, if that makes sense, right? So you're not really loving your job. You know that the space that you're in doesn't really do it for you, that it's not true, authentic living, right? And when you can come to me and say, like, Kristin, I'm ready to make these changes, I just don't know which direction. Like, I love those people because they're open. They're open, yeah. Right? And they have an awareness. And it might not be a 100% awareness of their truth, of their self, right? But they have an awareness, and you refer to being awake, right? They're starting to wake up to the fact that, like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live a reactionary life, right? I don't want to be in a job that doesn't feed my purpose. The list goes on. I don't want to be tired anymore. I want to be, I don't want. So it's always like, what are you going to say yes to now, right? You know what you're saying no to? And sometimes when that list gets long enough, you're like, all right, let's start going to the yes section now. Yeah. So that's where we start. And it's always a matter of like, okay, we're going to design our relationship. And each relationship, each client is unique. We design accordingly. And some people need coaching twice a month. Some need it 3 times a month. Some are at the point where, like, Kristin, let's just check in once a month. So it depends. If you want to talk logistics, I do Skype or Zoom. Mm-hmm. My clients are all over the country. A lot of coaches do use the telephone. I am intuitive, but I like to see my clients' faces. So if I can't touch you and squeeze you, I want to see your face, right? I don't want to know. I want to know that, like, we're right here and that you're not folding laundry or doing dishes while we're on the phone. So I found that because they are in their own home, right? And they're not racing off to get to me in an office. That they're in their own environment, so they are more vulnerable. Yeah. Right? They're able to just chill on their sofa, their laptop on their lap, and just talk. Yeah.
And I haven't done the prep work if I have to go out in the world, so this is what I have to look like, and I'm going to drive my car, I'm going to go into an office and meet this person. So
yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and into that. So when you're doing one-on-one, so how would they get in touch with you? And is it the website? Is that K Coaching, or like how do you get your clients, and how do they find you?
This is the really cool thing. Most of my clients come to me through referral. So other clients.
That's great.
Which is the biggest compliment, right? I've gotten, and probably the other 50% off of when people hear me speak.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when I am allowed to lead a workshop, when I get to be in front of a group of people, that is my thing.
Yeah.
And people can feel that energy, and immediately after, like, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I want to work with you, and I'm like, I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Great, let's do this. So I think it's hard for a lot of people to just go Google search personal development coach or life coach, right? Because it's a very, you don't necessarily do that when you're looking for a therapist, right? Yeah. Even with cognitive behavioral therapy or relationship therapist, you call a friend, like, hey, have you, right?
Yep, yep.
So I have the website because I was instructed that it gives me legitimacy and people want to know about me. Yeah. So go to my website, learn about me, fall in love with me, but then call me.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Call me, email me. I'm old school. I like to talk on the phone. Yeah. I like to, I love to do my intake sessions in person so we can at least hug once. Yeah. I'm a hugger. So, but otherwise, we get to design accordingly.
That's great. Now, how did the talking gigs come about? Like when was like your first one, and were you nervous? And what kind of what led up to that?
I'm always nervous. Yeah. So I am an introvert. But when I get up in front of a room and speak to people about becoming more self-aware and gaining self-confidence and moving from the messy, right? Getting unstuck. Like these are the things that I know with certainty. These are every part of me, right? My mind, my body, my spirit. This is when I'm in flow, when I'm delivering this, and I'm like, and so the more I can do it, the happier I am. And I always get nervous. The first talk I ever gave, oh wow, it was crazy. So I'm Armenian, and grew up in a very Armenian household, and so we're a little bit more conservative, and there's a lot of love, there's a lot of food, there's a lot of people, but it's just a little bit more conservative. So I get to meet a lot of Armenian women and have a lot of Armenian women friends. And I have two friends, Armina Hovanesyan and Rosalind Manassian, who started this group called New Paths. And what this group does is try to bring Armenian women together with no other agenda, but just to be together. So they came to me and they said, our membership is wanting a life coach to speak. And I was like, Armenian women are asking for a life coach? This is interesting. Culturally, not really aligned, but this tells me something, right? Yeah. So, and Armenian women are just they're so on it. Like, if you look at them, they're just gorgeous and makeup and hair, they're rocking it all the time. And I am not. So I was like, how am I going to go speak in front of all these beautiful women and feel comfortable about myself? Because that's when my little voice started oh no, Kristin, you got to go shopping, pull yourself together, do something. And then I was like, no, because that's not me.
That's not you, yeah.
That's not me. So I showed up, there was 80 women. I was in a hoodie and jeans.
Nice.
And sneakers, right? And Armina, I love her, says to me, do you need to change? And I just looked at her. I was like, no, I'm all set. Thank you. And then just went off into a corner and meditated and did some breathing to calm myself down, because I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is so nerve-wracking. But I was like, no, you have to do this. This is be brave. This is being brave. This is being courageous. Show these women they don't always have to look like gorgeous, right? They don't have to look put together, even if they're not feeling it. So I stand up in front of them, and they just look at me, right? Hair in a ponytail, hoodie, and I just start talking, right? And underneath my hoodie, I did have a nice blouse, right? So I took the hoodie off, I put my hair down, changed my shoes, and I was like, I'm still the same person, right?
Yeah.
I'm still going to deliver these words the same way. So when you can get past that exterior, and I really call it's fencing. It's more than fencing. It's a wall. It's a brick, concrete layers, right? That we all do it. We put it up because we want to, this is like, look at me.
Yeah.
I got my shit together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But inside, you don't. And it's okay.
Right.
Be vulnerable. Let us know, because we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Right? That was the first time I ever spoke to a group of solely Armenian women. I would do it again and again and again, because it was the most rewarding. Because I got to speak to my sisters and be like, listen, hey, this confidence thing, we can do it as long as we all have each other's back, right? We stop judging one another. Yeah. We stop thinking that, in order to be good enough, we have to look a certain way in order to, and this just goes for all women, right? Just be you.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I think it's great getting the feedback that I've gotten so far for the podcast, because it's everyone's in the same boat, just like you said. It's like everyone's trying to find their purpose, but sometimes portraying or trying to not keep up with the Joneses, but project something that they might not want to be, but for the sake of their circle of friends or their tribe, that's what they do. And what's great about some of the feedback is people just saying, hey, thanks for sharing that, and being bold and putting yourself out there, because I think that's what a lot of people want to do, but they're afraid to do it. And you have to be ready. And I think we kind of talked about this on the phone. It's like, if people aren't ready, you can't convince somebody that's not coming to you, I guess, personally for help, because some people, they're happy in whatever they're doing, and that might be fine for them. But I think, there does come a time, I know for myself, it was like, okay, this is all, it's not serving me now. It's like, I've gone through this, and this is serving me over here as gratitude and love and compassion and going with the flow and taking each day as a gift and the way, I was talking to Tim, it's like the way I'm trying to approach things now is, every day going forward is the best day, of that you can be, right? So that's your best self is going to be right now in the present, and everything that's led up to that, whether it's good or bad, fed into that. So that's a good, it's a good thing. So we have to take the negatives and kind of, well, maybe that isn't negative because it led me here. It's like, you don't know whether something's positive or negative until it's fulfilled. It's kind of, if it's, comes to its end. And sometimes it doesn't. It's perpetually, increasing. So again, it's a perspective, and it's like, we don't have to follow what the system and society wants you to be. And I think, I don't know where I read this, but I think consumerism kind of started with women's fashion, where it was like, if women didn't wear high heel, you got to wear these high heels so that you can be pretty, and it's like, it's such a terrible stigmatism, because it's like, when I look at my wife and stuff, it's like, I appreciate that she doesn't like to wear a lot of makeup or anything like that. It's just simple. That's her, And of course, when we go out and stuff, we'll both dress up to the T's, but it's like, you don't have to, It's like, you being you is good enough. That's, yeah.
And you see her confidence, right? You see that inner beauty and her light coming through, because it's not being masked by things that she consumed, right? That it's her that's coming out. And I can tell you this with the utmost certainty, that when you find your tribe, right, they're not going to judge you. They're going to love you. Right. They're going to get you on this level of like, you're just like, oh my God, I don't even have to talk. I just can sit here with these women or men and we don't have to say a word.
Yep.
And when I go back to Los Angeles and I'm with my girls, my tribe, we just spend hours just being, right? Yeah. And that's when you know that's your tribe. That's your tribe.
And you're being your authentic self quietly, and you don't have to.
Right. Yeah. I don't say anything. Or if I do and it's whacked, they'll still love me. Right?
Yeah. Tell me about, we were talking before the show too about, like you getting the energy, God giving you the energy, but it's like if you don't give that back, shame on me,
Yeah.
That was good.
It's the truth. So, yes, we were talking about, I just spoke at a memorial service on Wednesday, and someone came up to me after and it asked me if I practiced, and it kind of caught me off guard because I spend time, typing up the talking points, and my friend Solene tells me that this is part of the process. You gotta do it. It's part of the process. I never use them, but I used to work for an elected official, and I would write her talking points, and gosh, I hope she used them because I would spend a lot of time on them. And I do spend time on my talking points, and my friend is right. Like, it is part of the process, but I don't ever really practice. I don't spend time in the mirror or what you would necessarily think that a public speaker would do. I've never taken any kind of I'm not formally trained, nothing. I'm just using my gifts, and they're coming out. So when this young woman asked me if I practice, my life is my practice. It is what is in me. It is my gift that I get to give to the world. I get to connect people with story. And I don't mind using story from my life. I want to be vulnerable. I want you to say like, oh my gosh, Kristin, I know exactly what you're talking about because I just experienced the same thing. And my life is so full and so blessed that I have experienced probably... Oh gosh, I've probably gone around a couple times.
Yeah.
I've gone around a couple times. Like, it's not just like, oh, I've been here and now I'm here. I'm like, no, I keep just going around and around, and it's learning, it's growing. Living is movement, right? And like you said earlier, those lessons, even the hard ones, even the ones where you're getting smacked upside the head and a good kick in the ass at the same time, that's when the most learning is taking place. That's when you're shifting. Yep. That's when you're growing, and you come out the other end and you're like, I just wanted to swear, but I didn't.
Yeah, no,
I bleeped myself.
Yeah.
But you're literally like, shit, like, oh, really? It took all of that for me to finally see? Like, okay, I'm a little bit more awake now, right? Like, I don't know how much, like, people talk about, like, oh, there's some people that are out there that are so enlightened and others who are not. Okay, listen, I'm going to let you in on another little secret since you invited me here. We're all the same. We all have the same divine energy in us. We have all been touched with light. How you believe that to be true, how you interpret that, that's up to you. What your religious beliefs are, spiritually, I'm telling you, we are the same. We all have a light within us, right? And that's what I'm talking about, those gifts. Yeah. With my clients, I call it that stamp on your heart. And sometimes you have to dig through, whether it's cultural messaging or just life that's kind of layered on top of it, right? Where you lose sight of that. But that stamp is always there. That light is always there. It's your root chakra. You cannot deny it. And I'm going to tell you something else. When you do deny it is when you get sick. Yeah. Because your body and your mind know that you're not being true to your spirit, right? So when you're able to take all three and they're in sync and they're like, yeah, look at us, we're vibing. That's flow. Yeah. That's flow. Yeah. That's when your light is coming out to the world. That's when you know I found my truth and I'm living it. And that's what I was talking about when I speak.
Yeah.
Like, it just comes through me. So I can do the talking points, but when I stand in front of a room, I can feel them on it's a very intuitive level where I'll know, like, okay, these are the words these people need to hear tonight. And it's probably most of the time something that I haven't even put on that paper. But I'm comfortable enough now to just be like, I'm going to meet you where you are, right? Whether you're an individual client or you're a room full of 500 people, I'm going to meet you where you are because I love you and I see you. That's what I have to give.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's similar to, reading The Alchemist, where I don't know if you read that, but basically he's trying to follow the treasure is treasure, and sometimes if we don't follow our purpose or that treasure, and we get that calling and we deny it, it's going to be left for somebody else. Somebody else is going to get that, that purpose or that treasure. So, it is important if you do get that energy and that information to follow. And that's kind of where I landed, where, just to give you like my backstory is, after my dad, passed away, it's like I was at rock bottom, and it's like, when I was doing these planks, and I didn't realize at the time, but my wife had sent me a few positive motivational videos that I would watch while I was planking to kill time and stuff. But I kept, then it would recommend, YouTube would recommend another one. And I got in this circle, and it was just like all this positive, energy. And then I would stop watching the news because I wanted to finish watching these videos. And that, and it was just this cyclical thing where I was just surrounding myself with positive, like, data, or information. And I didn't realize at the time, but that totally changed, like, my vibration and all the negative things that I was thinking about in the past, and why this didn't work, and why, this business opportunity, didn't work out or whatever. It's like, oh no, those were all positive steps that led me to, this, awakening, if you will. And it's like, why did I waste all those years not being present and understanding that, again, gratitude and love, and just let life, happen, move towards it, but don't get so worked up with the minutia and the little things, So yeah,
those years weren't wasted though, because they brought you here.
Right, and that's the thing. Now it's like you look back, and it's and that's the hard thing. It's like the everything has led up to this moment, which again is the best, at least for me. It's like today I'm the best that I feel the best that I ever have, because of all everything I've gone through. That's made me appreciate, this moment right here, having you here, having your son here, Tim, and just bringing people together and sharing your story. It's wonderful.
Yeah, my son is here, Sabu.
Talking with Pete a little bit too, he was saying, like, as far as like, I know for our kids, we're trying to do, like, as best we can, monitoring like technology, and as far as like health wise, like, feeding them the most, healthy things that we can without, you know what I mean? And but he had said, like, you're the same thing, like, with your kids, and because it's tough to I guess split the time between electronics and reading and just keeping them well-rounded.
I think that's a very complicated question, because I don't think any parent ever feels at peace with any decision that they make, because you have this like living being that you've been blessed with, and you're like, okay, I know I wanted this. I thought I was ready for this, but okay, like, I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to mess up. And I think you have to be more at peace with that. You're going to make mistakes, and that, like, you just kind of learn and grow together. Like, my kids teach me something every day. So I do it this way. I look at it this way. Like, I feed my kids really well. For the first 5 years of both their lives, they were vegan. Now they're vegetarian. My son is vegetarian. My daughter, depending, most of the time she's vegetarian. I cook a lot. they like sweets, so I bake a lot. I never knew how to bake. I was like, oh no. Okay, so like, thank goodness for Pinterest and all these like boards that I've created, because now I'm like, all right, I need to make some apple muffins, right? It's right there. So it does take more time, but I want to give my kids a foundation. I made that choice where I'm like, okay, these are things I can definitely control. I can control teaching them how to eat well, and you know, trying to minimize sugar, getting them to understand that what you put in your body really does matter. So we have a lot of conversations about that. As far as screens go, I explain to my kids, your frontal lobe isn't fully developed. I think that, I don't know what news channel did a piece, but I actually showed it to my son, and to try and get him to understand what screen time does, right? And that's a very like neurological explanation for like a 10, 11-year-old, but I wanted him, he's a smart kid, so I wanted him to know that. But what bugs me is on a more human level of, we're in our phones, right? And what kind of example are we setting our kids when they see us in our phones, and then we lose connection with them, right? Instead of sitting at the dinner table and hey, tell me what great happened today. Yeah. Tell me what not so great happened today, right? To be able to have those conversations very easily with your kids while they're young is fantastic, because guess what? As they get older, right, that expectation is set. That when you're sitting at the dinner table, when you see mom, she actually wants to know what happened to you today. She doesn't just want, oh, it was good. Oh, it was bad, right? Yep. Like, you want to be in conversation, and that is how you stay connected to your kids. That is how they know, like, okay, mom really cares.
Yep. Yeah, I think, you know, we definitely, I think as a society, probably lost that, at least like the dinner table with phones and whatnot. Now, do you feel like for coaching, do you feel some anxiety and maybe depression that people might be going through is diet related, and does that ever like kind of come out, or do you go ahead.
I'm not a certified nutritionist. Yeah. I believe that food is medicine. I believe that when you consume processed foods that are high in sugar, your body is going to let you know, right? So you're going to get inflammation, right? You feel it, right? So even if you're able to eat clean for a week, say, right? Your body is going to thank you, and you're going to start to feel better, and you're going to see the inflammation go down in your body. These are just things that like you don't have to be a nutritionist. You don't have to be like science-based to know this information. You have a body. You know how it functions. Thank it. Be grateful for it. Go exercise it and eat well. Like, these are things that are like no-brainers, and these are things that I want to teach my children, but I teach my children by setting the example. They see what I eat. They see me going out for runs. They see me meditating. They see me working out. Like, they work out with me. They meditate with me. I want them on my yoga mat with me. Yep. Right?
That's great. Yeah, I got my daughter planking with me. Yeah, she does some gymnastics, and my little guy wants to do it too. So but that's great when you can incorporate and they see you. You lead by example, and you set the foundation. Yeah, I mean that's inspiring. Tim, what do you guys do in the Murphy household?
There's a lot of conversation around the kitchen table. I'm the cook of the house. I like shopping and I like cooking healthy foods. I've been vegan, now pescatarian, so we eat healthy. There's meditation in the house. There's exercise in the house. So it is a lead by example kind of thing, and trying to be our authentic selves in front of my son to see that, so he can see us for our foibles, but also that we're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. And but that's tough. It's tough to be real with yourself, and then it's even tougher when you have a little life form that you're responsible for.
Right? Yeah. We're like, oh no.
We still haven't gotten our oldest like a cell phone yet, but he's on electronics and stuff, and we monitor it. But the other day, his friend, one of his friends were over, and his friend was on a cell phone. He's like, Nick, why don't you have a cell phone yet? And he's like, I don't need one. He's like, yeah, but, and my wife overheard the conversation, so I'm hearing it secondhand. Yeah, but what if you're on the other street and you get hurt playing basketball? And he's like, get a parent maybe, or use your phone, But then my wife's like, good answer, Nick, good answer,
All these trick questions.
But it's funny what we put, importance on, and again, I'm sure, he's going to get one at some point, but trying to delay that as much as possible. And it's funny because I also don't think electronics is necessarily a bad thing. It's just because we grew up with video games and stuff, but I think now it's out there and it's a monster, so it's good, everything in moderation, I think. And
it's definitely the case, right? Like, we know that no matter what industry our kids get into, I mean, they're going to be using technology, as they should be. We have it now. Yeah. We didn't have it when we were growing up in the same capacity, but now that we have it, of course they're going to be using it. But for me, where I get stuck is that connection piece. And then honestly, like, their frontal lobes are not developed enough, and you can literally see, and especially boy children, right, and mine in particular, like, it just feels like this thing is coming at them and attaching to their brain, and it just sucks them in. And if I can prolong that as much as possible, I will, right? And I was just sitting, my son's going into 6th grade, and I was sitting in a meeting, and they're talking, and they gave us a statistic that 80% of 6th graders come in with cell phones. And I was like, well, I know someone who's going to be in the 20%. Right? This is we live across the street from the middle school, right? I'm like, there's phones there's phones in the middle school. There's house phones. You could pick up a house phone, right? Yeah. Like, I just feel like you're complicating their lives, and you're introducing things that, let's just hold off. Yeah. Let's let them be children, right? Because we know the level. You brought up anxiety and depression. We know that anxiety and depression is on the rise with our children, right? When their anxiety is triggered so much with having to be the best, the smartest, right? Like, just going out and doing them and having fun isn't good enough anymore for some reason. I don't know where we lost this thing where, like, all our kids have to be going to an Ivy League school and lettering in every sport that they play. That's just, that's not human.
Yeah.
Right? Where's the joy in that? So if we can just take away that social piece of them being on text threads and Instagram and Facebook and all these things where they're seeing these images and they're getting this negative messaging, why wouldn't you want to remove that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm the parent that will make the stand and say, like, no, my child's not going to be a part of that right now. It's not a matter of, like, oh, I want to protect him from the world, because I'm very aware of his place in the world. I'm like, no, thank you. Right now, we're gonna just be a kid for a little bit longer.
Yep. No, and that's a great approach, because that's the thing. It's like we've lost, like, that childhood innocence, because it's like they're always on, on the device. And I shouldn't say they're always on, but it's like, if and again, these are great tools, like you said. Everything's technology now, and it's all the tools and systems are great if you use them for what they're supposed to be for, moderation and for research and of course fun when it's appropriate. But yeah, I mean, at this age, they don't need to be stressed out over a video game, especially, and what we've noticed is, especially with our younger one, it's like when we sometimes it's like when we take that stuff away, it's like he'll go 3 days without it, and it's like he's a different person in a positive way. So we know that there's an effect, and it's just that fine balance. And but yeah, I think to your point, it's like if you can delay it as long as possible, and so that let them make the decision when the time's right, how they use it. Once we let the restraints go a little bit more, But
when you think back on your childhood, like, what are your best childhood memories?
well, that's what's funny. It's like, I was talking to Pete about it. It's like we're able to coordinate a, wiffle ball game with 12 kids with no cell phones. Like somehow we picked up our rotary phone. It was, hey, Mike, you around? We're gonna play street hockey, and somehow we would get the net there and whatever, and we're playing, and we did it all without, cell phones. And it was
when the street lights came on, we knew time to go home.
Time to go home, yeah. And it's like, our parents really didn't worry. We were somewhere around the street, somewhere on, friend's house. But just like you said, it's like those are, the memory. And it's, it's harder here being in New England too, because the winter, you're inside for so long versus, I'm sure, warmer weather climate. You're outside more, and it's more manageable, as well, and they're getting that that sun and good vibes,
Screen time also affects sleep patterns too, because of the blue light, and if you have it like 1 hour or 2 hours before you go to bed, you're not as likely to get a good night's sleep. That can affect your attitude, moods. Sorry.
No, you're so right. Like, right? And none of us are scientists or out there researching this stuff. It's there. We know it. We have the information, and now we get to choose how we're going to apply it to ourselves and our families. Right?
Yeah. Now, one of the other things. So now, what was it like growing up with Pete?
So do you want the truth? No.
Is he older or young?
Well, this is the thing. He's technically younger, but I always call him my older brother.
Okay.
I tease him, but I have a twin sister, Lisa.
Okay.
So Pete got to grow up with 2 older sisters, and like we have great memories. Our grandparents were involved in our lives, and they were full. We were always outside. The 3 of us were really athletic. We lived on a cul-de-sac. There was a cul-de-sac on each end of our street.
That's what we have. That's what we have here. It's awesome.
There was always kids playing.
Yep.
Right. So like my childhood memories are of that. I honestly, and I'm not just saying this because he's my brother, I think he's like one of the greatest humans on the planet.
Yeah.
Like his heart is so big, and like you just look at him and you see this guy who's like, he's in fitness. So his life has been spent like trying to figure out like, okay, like how do I best utilize my body? So he looks fit, but what people don't really know is the guy is a teddy bear, right? Like he's so soft and sensitive, and he loves what he does because he gets to bring his knowledge to young people, right? And so he spends a lot of time with young people, and he loves it. He loves being able to give that. And if you've been in his facility, like he's got the best of the equipment, and he is extremely knowledgeable, like exercises and routines and training patterns that he's been working on for speed and agility and strength for years. Now you're like opening up the internet and watching these now like more famous trainers doing stuff that like my brother was doing
it for years.
15 years ago.
Yep.
And I have a great deal of respect for him and my sister. I think they're both amazing people, and it touched me that like when my dad passed away, my husband said to me, he's like, the way you and your brother and sister care for one another is a testament to your parents.
Yep.
Right?
Wow.
And I would do anything for either one of them, like hands down. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I think,
and that's, I just want to compliment you both. I mean, the fact that you guys are both in service, it's like you're helping people in different ways, and I think that's what we're here for. Everyone, I mean, everyone should be striving to help our brothers and sisters and whoever's struggling, and even if you're not struggling, obviously there's different ways to support, but it's like just to watch what Pete's done over the years, and again he's talk nothing but highly of you, and it's so great to have you on the show, because it's like he's been talking so highly, so it's great to finally meet you and see what you're all about, and it's so fantastic, and And even after this, I'm going to be reaching out to you to see, how I can get involved in, some of the speaking stuff and just help out in any way I can, for sure. So I just want to say, it's been a pleasure to have you on, and I'm so grateful that I had a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. This has been a total joy to be with you both. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
It's an honor.
Appreciate it. And so KA Coaching or Coach.com.
KACoach.com. I'm on Instagram as KA Coach. I think my Facebook is KA Coaching, which confuses things, but somebody else.
We'll put it all in the description, and so everybody can find you. And
I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Well, again, such a pleasure, and Godspeed to you, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.